Good still morning, everybody. Welcome to my short presentation named Product Vision Mapping. We're going to talk about product, about vision, and about mapping one on another. Thank you for the introduction. My name is PAWEł. FELISKI. I come from Poland. Currently from Warsaw, our capital. However, I was based in different places. Before I move forward, a couple of words about me. I'm from so-called Agile software development industry. So from this part of IT industry that is supported by Agile methodologies and Agile approach. I used to be an engineer, programmer, I used to be a tester, I used to be project manager for years, product manager, product owner actually for a couple of years. Currently, it's already 5 years altogether. I'm an independent consultant, let's say so, providing both training, very rarely speeches like this one, and so-called implementation, especially the Scrum method into different kinds of corporations. I would like to share a couple of thoughts and my experience related to working with product vision and mapping it into requirements, supported with a couple only cases from my experience. If you have any questions during the presentation, please ask the questions. I will either answer the question or not. If I know the answers, I will answer the question. If I know the answer but I have it later, I will say I'm not answering, I'm going to answer later. I'm not prepared for questions, but I don't know answers, so please don't ask such questions. That's rude. All right. Agile. Agile is an abbreviation of Agile software development. It's not Agile project management, it's not Agile product management, it's not Agile engineering, it's software development. Originally, it was developed in the Agile Manifesto in 2001. It consists of 4 values, 12 principles. It's a philosophy, it's an approach. A question to you, because I don't know how much should I dig into the basics. Who knows Agile software development? Hands up. Okay, thank you. Who doesn't know Agile software development? Hands up. Who speaks English here? Better, thank you, all right. So a couple more words about Agile software development. Any kind of product development, because I'm going to focus on IT, but it's not IT only, could be divided into couple 5, 3, 10, depending on industry, phases. The phases here are marked with the color, and if we are talking about the IT, the very, very basic model says we have a phase of analysis when we analyze what to do, when we prepare design, architecture, and so on. We have the phase of implementation when we produce the code, and then we have a phase of testing. Of course, it's a very short model. We can have 10, 15 phases, we can have different phases for testing, system testing, node testing, deployment, and so on. But in general, the idea for any product development is that we have phases. What we do in Agile software development is that we would like to avoid something that I'm going to show right now.
What are you doing up here? I thought you were downstairs boxing chocolates.
Oh, they kicked me out of there fast.
Why?
I kept pinching them to see what kind they were. This is the 4th department I've been in.
Oh, I didn't do so well either. No.
All right, girls. Now, this is your last chance. If one piece of candy gets past you and into the packing room unwrapped, you're fired.
Yes, ma'am.
Let her roll!
Oh, this is easier.
Yeah, we can handle this okay. Listen, Ethel, I think we're fighting a losing game.
Speed it up a little!
All right, thank you very much. A couple of questions. What was wrong there? Thank you. Any details, anybody?
Load.
A load, the load factor. Speed. What else?
Motivation, KPIs.
Yeah. Resources.
They didn't tell they couldn't manage.
Okay, they didn't know that.
They didn't tell their manager they couldn't cope with it.
Okay, so no communication with manager completely. What else?
No argues actually. What?
Okay. Yeah. Anything else?
No education.
No education.
Waterfall process.
Water process. Somehow, I'd say. How about quality?
No.
We can draw a chart of the quality depending on time, comparing the beginning to the end. So basically in agile software development, we want to avoid everything like that with a couple of basic changes. First thing, that was the movie. First thing, we wouldn't like to have separate phases of product development or so much separated because it creates some silos in terms of structures of organization. It creates some buffers on communication. We'd like the manager to be very close to the workers. On the movie you've seen this disconnection. We would like workers to be very close to management. We wouldn't like them to lie. At the end of the movie, manager thought everything is fine because there are no proofs of poor quality, and so on and so on. My first job, professional job in IT, was in Siemens Communication in Wrocław, and the software development had more than 3 phases these days. The first phase was a phase in a project like 12, 18 months long projects, IT projects. The first phase was a phase of requirement design and requirement analysis. There were 2 people working on requirements analysis, producing a document, 300 pages long, Arspec in German, requirement specification. How many people read this book? How do you think? No one. One. Those 2 who wrote it. Any other? Well, except for the writers, exactly 3 people. Because the next phase was the phase of functionality analysis, where business analysts, reading these 3 of them, reading the book, were writing another book called FSpec, Functionality Specification, about 500 pages. How many people, how do you think, read the functionality specification? Any ideas? Nobody, of course. It came to us, engineers. What we did, we of course open it. Look, it's too long. We look at the pictures, charts, and tables. This is fine. And anyway, even if we were reading it, we had plenty of questions about what do you really think about. And what we lack in general was the big picture. Okay, we have very detailed specification, but what for we doing it? Why, and so on. Agile software development says that we shouldn't do separate phases, one by one, with a handoff of a documentation or any other artifacts between the phases. We would like to have everything done together in cycles. And what would you maybe see at work or during different presentations is that we have very short cycles when we do all of that. Do you think this is okay?
No.
No. But you're a speaker. Anybody else? Well, not necessarily, because if we have this approach, we actually have all 3 phases one by one, but in shorter cycles. There's no benefits. Still we have different people doing different things, handing off the work, documents, whatever, as artifacts from one phase to another, but we're doing it in small cycles. In Agile software development, what we really want to talk about is this part. We're working in short cycles. The cycles are called iterations. By short, I mean 1, 2, 3, or 4 weeks in a regular pace. And during the cycle, we do everything all together. Analysis, implementation, testing, analysis, implementation, architecture, testing, deployment, whatever else is needed. 3 is just a number for the purpose of this presentation. That means that the phase of analysis, that the phase of preparing requirements is actually not a phase at the beginning of a project, but it takes the enter project. So my question is, where or when during the timeline requirements appear?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. So we are starting with no requirements because they will appear later. Somebody's paying for that? Come on.
No, it's not like that. Hypothetically, in this scenario, you still should have some bandwidth, some time to start to develop this vision that the skeleton that will produce to develop details further on.
I don't know whether everybody hears his judgment, but he's right. What I hear at many conferences is that, of course not, you have to have a phase in here a little at the beginning to prepare requirements. So we're coming back to this mode, which is wrong. This is not what this gentleman is saying. What's your name?
Flat.
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 Flat, okay. What is really key in Agile software development is to work on the vision of the product just before we have it and specify it more and more. So not having the entire specification from left to right, we have the vision and narrowing top down during the entire project. And that's what I'm going to talk about and how. Well, so that's how it works. All right. In Agile software development, there are many methodologies like Scrum, the most popular, Extreme Programming, Crystal Clear, and so on. But among, I'd say, more than a half of them, or majority that I used, there's one role, significant role, that is called Product Owner. Product Owner, I wouldn't say equals to Product Manager. It's a bit different, but for the purposes of this presentation, we can assume at this moment, not later, that it's more or less the same. Product owners owns the product, owns the vision, has money, has everything that is needed. And I have a question to you. It's a maze. Steve Jobs, product owner. I would like to give you about 60 seconds to discuss in small groups. Let me create the groups in a moment. What kind of verb should be here? Product, Steve Jobs, was, wasn't, should, have been, must, and so on. What would you put in here? I would like to have the groups because I'm a workshop guy, not a speaker guy.
One verb?
One or two verbs, just to solve this. Let's have this a middle line, right? And groups of two rows here, and over to, and over to, and over to. I don't care actually about the groups. I would like to hear at least 20 different verbs, or maybe the same ones. So 60 seconds to discuss whether Steve Jobs product owner. What do you think?
One idea already. Higher.
50 seconds more. Half a minute, 30 seconds.
Finishing at 12:15, yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Starting from the rear, because you're far from me, what's your answers? What? Started to be? All right. Any other ideas?
Was not.
Is not a product owner, where he's not, he's dead. But was not a product owner. Okay. And here was a product owner. Very interesting. Any other ideas?
Was supposed to be.
Was supposed to be, right? Managed.
Should have been.
Should have been.
Pace.
What?
Pace.
Pace product owners. Yeah. How?
Right, yes.
Okay, yeah, indeed. I heard also hired a product owner. So we have about 100 professionals in here, and we have no idea whether Steve Jobs was not a product owner or what. I've been last year in a conference, Agile conference in the United States. We had a discussion, I would say academical discussion on that topic, and the conclusion was, we have no idea. We don't know. But the conclusion, the other one, was that it depends on who product owner is in your mind. Where in my mind, product owner is a person. It's not a position, okay, in a company. It's not a position like you're a project manager engineer. It's a role. And to fulfill that role, you have to have three artifacts. The first one is the vision of the product. Second one is a budget for the product. The third one is a list of requirements. You manage this. If you are a product manager and you have these three, and we're talking about Agile, you're a product owner. We're lucky you. Steve Jobs definitely had money, definitely had a vision, but was it vision of a product or the company? We don't know. Whether he owned a list of requirements per particular product, per particular phone, laptop or application, we don't know that. Definitely there were product owners over there. Gentlemen, don't speak about money, so we're going to skip this part. I'm going to focus on the vision and a little bit about requirements during the final part of this presentation. So, the vision. Any product owners in the room? What's the vision of a product?
Vision is the combination of the marketing direction, company strategy, and basically when the product should end up.
All right, that's the vision of your product, or the definition of vision?
That's like half of that.
Half of that.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, do you hear, or should I give microphones to?
You pay mine. You.
Give microphones. Okay. Anyone another product owner? Okay, used to be.
But that is no money.
What's the vision with no money? It's a poor product owner.
It's the understanding of a problem that we're solving, a very specific one, and the understanding of how we will solve it, pretty much, and why it should be solved.
All right, cool. If I give this microphone to each of you, I think the definition of vision would be completely different. Similar, but completely different. And I'm talking about the definition of vision, not the vision of the product you have. Recently, I spoke with the CEO of Golden Line. It's a Polish LinkedIn.com website, and I asked him about the vision. Definitely had the vision of the product. I asked then all his product owners, engineers, business analysts, and testers. They also had the vision of the product, but they are developing all together. It was completely different. So, to write down the vision and to share the vision, as a key part, especially in agile software development, when you have no specification up front. You have to have the big picture. And whenever I see the vision, if you go to Scrum Guide, 16 pages book describing the Scrum framework, one of the frameworks used in Agile, there's just one sentence: product owners has the vision, period. Nothing else. Vision, visualization, vision, it's like I see something in my mind. I wouldn't like product owner or manager to see the vision, I would like to share the vision. There are a couple of techniques to share the vision, write it down, and I'm going to spend a couple of minutes about one of them. The product canvas is one of the, I think, most popular techniques, especially in the companies that I'm working for nowadays. Have you heard about Lean Startup? I think you had. With Lean Startup, there was a business canvas, Lean canvas, any other canvas. And by the way of this canvas is Roman Pichler, one of the greatest men providing input in Agile world for product owners. He talked a little about product canvas. There are different versions of the canvases, and this is the canvas. Whenever I'm talking about a vision of the product, I want to know what's the goal. Business goal, what's the business objective, and if we are having a bit advanced mode, what's the goal and how I'm going to measure the goal afterwards. A name of the product is also good. I'm thinking of a target group, I'm thinking of a big picture in general and some technical product details. If you put it on a one-page A3 format and share it with everybody, it's first of all a great technique to discuss. Second of all, if you cannot write down something as a product owner in any of this or some of these columns, perhaps something's wrong, you need to reconsider the product. And third of all, you can share, you can use it in a workshop mode, and let's go into the details. Do you know that guy? Speaking of stand-ups, by the way. If you jump, it's faster, even than 10 minutes. So Scott Adams is one of authors of comic strips, very popular, especially in IT industry. We are not going to talk about him. We're going to talk about Andrzej Milewski. It's in Polish, it doesn't matter, I think. That I'm bored, intelligent people don't get bored, right? Andrzej Milewski, one of my customers, he's a very, or more and more famous, no, he's neither on the picture, he's over here, with the brand Andrzej rysuje, so Andrzej is drawing, Andrzej draws, he's preparing these comic strips. His business, because we should consider his art as a business if he gets money for that, right? So his business is growing and growing. He got a first prize during one of the competitions. He's now drawing for a TV show. He's drawing for two newspapers. It's no more a blog with pictures only. Recently had some idea. If that guy is making money on his strips not only by providing them to newspapers but also for selling caps, t-shirts and so on, why shouldn't I do it? And there was an idea of Andrzej rysuje, sklep under the shop of Andrzej rysuje, when you can buy many things, t-shirts, caps, and so on, including this teddy bear. This is called Psingwin. It's a combination of a dog and a penguin. Psingwin. Yes, Andrzej is addicted to drugs, by the way. Okay. And he came to the agency that I'm consulting, and the question was, well, what should I do? We need an e-commerce platform to grow the business. What we did, we actually took the product canvas. During the initial discussion, he even didn't see it, and started to write. So what's the name of the product? Of course, that's Andrzej rysuje, sklep Andrzej rysuje shop, a shop of his things. And then we ask Andrzej, what's the goal? Well, I want to have more money. If the goal, business goal of any of your products is I want to have more money, that's a wrong goal. Because by selling anything, you're by default getting more money. It's not a business goal, speaking of objectives of creating business. We spent about 1 hour discussing about the goal. After about 30 minutes, he told us, you know, I don't know whether it's a good idea. Nobody did it in Poland earlier. So my goal might be, let's check whether it works. So it sounds like MVP, a proof of concept, minimum viable product. Let's do something and figure out whether it works or not. But we were challenging him more. What doesn't mean let's figure out whether it works? How do you know, let's say in a year from now, that it worked? So we go more into smart goals and eventually found out that the goal is, I want to sell 1,000 pieces t-shirt with the comic strips before Christmas this year. If I sell it before Christmas, for me it's a sign it works. If not, then not. Good goal, do you think? It was good enough. Okay, it was good enough after 1 hour with this gentleman. Then we went to the target group. By target group, I mean, who are you focusing on selling the items? And any customer, especially of the smaller software houses in Poland that I see, says, well, I'm going to sell it to everybody. Everybody who wants it, I'm going to sell it to them. When I started Brussels Consulting Group and I was given the same, or I asked myself the same question, I thought, well, I'm going to give the training to anybody interested in my training. But that's not the case. So after a bit discussion, we figure out that it's a man, 25 up to 30 years old, living in big cities and having a sense of humor. Not very specific, but good enough again to provide some details, for instance, for designer to provide a graphical user interface. Then the big picture, and here, although we could speak about many details, we just focus on general, I wouldn't say functionalities. I'm talking about areas of functionality, something bigger than one functionality. And here they are. So as a customer, I would like to have a search of my pictures over there. I would like the shopping cart. I would like the connection to social media. Hey guys, I bought the t-shirt, and on Facebook everybody sees it. That's cute. I would like to have a payment supported by this e-commerce. I would like to have a user profile so a person can log in, and so on and so on. I would like to have a panel for administration. It's a big product, right? And he already said it has to be a proof of concept. So we start to challenge him. Do you really need administration? Do you need a user profile, people to log in? What if you have 10 customers only? There's no sense. How about payments? Couldn't it be just a transfer to your bank account at the beginning? We can always bring you more. How about social media? Seriously, do we need a big integration, logging with Facebook or registration with Facebook, or just a share button if you really insist on? Shopping cart, well, that's by default searching as well. So from very big product, we narrow it down to a small one. Then the final part are the product details, and just for information, in that case it was responsive web design so that you can use it on mobile phone. By the way, originally he thought there should be a mobile application, while we found out that it might be a website that's simply responsive. We'd like payments by PayU and money transfers with bank accounts. That's it. With that product canvas, when we're writing down what we hear from the customer, we're showing it to him and saying, well, is that what you said, that's what you think, and you're starting discussion. So although it's a technique that you put on the wall, it's actually a discussion that can have done more and more. The entire team, development team, was present during this presentation, during this discussion, so that already they challenged many of the ideas, especially related to administration, social media, and payments. All right. Thus, some modifications of the technique, and I'm just going to bring up one tiny because I think it's important. On many conferences that I've been to this year, whenever there's a panel for product managers or product owners, I don't know why, it's all about user experience. UX, usability, nothing else. As if product management was something not related to other topics. There is one agency called Chilit with CEO Anna Zarudzka that I also work with that created something very similar to the product canvas, and I'm bringing her case here just because she didn't know about product canvas earlier, before we met. So they create a tool that supports their business and their customers, although it's completely different. I'm showing it to you because I think you don't need to stick to one technique that I'm showing or you're going to read. You have to do the modifications. Chill is a web agency, which means they produce software, tiny web applications. However, they put a lot of stress, a lot of focus and attention on design, how it looks like. And that's what they call board of product, or a product board, very similar template to the product canvas. We have a target user group. We have competitors because they care about the competitors of your product, are there any. We have something that would be similar to SWOT analysis, what are weaknesses and values of your business and the product that's going to support it, and image if you know something about the colors that you would like, or some benchmark websites that already exist. Something very similar, however used in a completely different way. What I found out here was something more. Not only they created the product board similar to product canvas, but they unintentionally used also a technique from the Agile world, which is called persona. In the target group, they are not focusing on the target group in general, but a particular person. So if we were at Andrzej Rysuje shop, it wouldn't be a man, 25 to 40 years old, but we're going to ask him how many years exactly. 30 or 35, or 40 or 20, because 25 to 40 is too big range. How do you think, why is it for?
To imagine our end user.
Exactly, to imagine our end user. But why do we need to imagine our end user?
Behavior habits.
Behavior habits, what else you said?
Be more targeted.
Be more targeted. It depends on the age, depends, the color that we are using depends on the age. I have no idea, there is a study done all over the world saying that what color is familiar or the best for teenagers, for people between 18 and 20, 21 and 22, and so on and so on. So this kind of information provides the designer, the graphic designer, input what and how to produce. Whether it's men or women, what's her or his name, what are the habits, particular, and so on and so on. So that's the technique of persona. The technique of persona known from user stories in Agile software development, something that I would really like to discuss after the presentation, after the lunch break with all of you. However, besides of persona, there was something else created, what we named an Aunty Persona. So within the target group, girls from the design agency asked not only about the direct persona, the name, age, habits, and so on, but Aunty Persona, who still from the target group would be a person that you wouldn't like to sell this product to. We asked Andrzej questions about it, and he said, let it be 30 years old, let he be named Wiesiek, and so on, with a sense of humor. However, the Aunty Persona would be a kid of 25 years, so bottom of the range, 25-14, frustrated, with no sense of humor, a hater. He doesn't like this kind of people. Still in the business of comic strips, which are touching the current political situation of the country. It's very he was very interested in having these people out of his shop. All right. Time for another movie. We're moving from the vision to something that I call the impact, because we would like to see whether what we envisioned, what we planned, what's the impact on that on our business. Sometimes the impact is not so straightforward. The second movie is going to show us how assumptions can be wrong.
Scusi, buon uomo? Mi sa dire l'ora, per favore?
Le 5:35.
Ma è sicuro?
E 36, mo.
Ah. Grazie,
Prego.
Arrivederci. Ha mangiato il ciuchino, eh?
E no?
Senta, mi sa dire che ore sono adesso?
Andrà orta. Le 7:15.
Oh, ma sono le 7:15 spaccate. Incredibile. Ma lei come fa a leggere l'ora nelle palle del ciuchino, scusi?
No, io le alzo. Sotto c'è il campanile, vedi? Ya vedi? 7:15.
Be careful with the assumptions, ladies and gentlemen. A technique from a bit different area, still Agile software development, is called impact mapping. This is developed in recent years by Mr. Gojko Agic. The work of Gojko is to bring the so-called business and so-called technology together, to gap the bridge. And impact mapping is one of the techniques that is supposed to be done collaboratively by product management in general and engineers to see whether it fits together or not. Just a couple of words about this kind of mapping, because this is a bit different approach to having the vision elaborated in more details. So, impact mapping focuses on 4 questions. Why are we want to do something? Who is going to do it from functional point of view of our product? What's going to be done and how? And during the workshop, impact mapping workshops, what we are doing actually, we are asking the entire team together with product management to map each of the requirements in such a way. I think I have a picture that shows, more in details. If I have a requirement in my product canvas in the big picture or area of requirements, I should have a discussion for each of them about who, how, and what does. Drawing this kind of pictures. You cannot do it effectively online, at least I haven't seen it. It's better to have a room, especially a big room, with a big wall and plenty of people involved. What I really like in this technique, because there are many mapping techniques in Agile world, is that it doesn't matter on which level of specification you are. At the very beginning, I told you that we are working top-down in Agile. There's a vision, level 0, and during the project we're specifying more and more into details. Having the detail overview done in the first iteration for the first iteration, then for the second, third, and so on, from one cycle to another cycle. No matter what level of requirements or goals are over here, we can do this mapping. Sometimes we will find out that what you think is a requirement is not here, is actually here. Sometimes you will discover, and that's why the customer, the product owners will need it, that your goal simply doesn't make sense if it goes to something that is ridiculous. This is a technique for workshop, and I really would like to encourage you to find me somewhere in the corridor. We can have it. I think we have some supplies like markers, felt pens. We can have some sample discussion on that. There's another mapping technique in Agile world, the final one that I'm going to show you. In original, it is called user story mapping. I'm not going to explain what user stories are because I think not everybody is from IT in here. For the purpose of this presentation, we can say this is a requirements mapping. So we are mapping requirements, one requirement to another, something to something. Let's see how it looks like. The letters are really little on purpose because I don't want you to read it. During the mapping, we are having the areas of functionality over here in the heading. For example, if this is an online shop, this is a Googled example, we would have the finding product, so a search, examining, signing up, ordering, paying, shipping. If I have in my product canvas elaborating vision, payment, it's just a sentence. Payment by what? By who? What about security? What specific requirements are there? During the workshop with the team and the product owner, we are actually going into the details, but not too much into the details. For each area of functionality, we are together thinking of a different level +1 aspects. For instance, in terms of payment, we can have a payment on delivery, payment with credit card, payment with PayPal, right? Actually, it's just this level because we can take each of them and go deeper. Payment with credit card, with Amex, with Visa, with MasterCard, different functionalities for engineers, and so on and so on and so on. So on that level, we have the general areas of functionality. In here we have detailed requirements, one level deeper. And the idea of the technique is not only to have that mapped like that, but also to figure out what's the most important. And we're talking about this line, whether shipping is more important functionality than finding a product in MVP. If I have a social media here, whether social media are more important to the left or less important MVP, we don't know that. So the product owner has to decide. But we're doing the ordering also top-down and bottom-up. Whether payment on delivery is more important than with credit card or the PayPal. Which one we would like to start. And in that case, as the result of this workshop and the technique, the engineering team receives a list that is no more a map, and it goes like this. We should do this, 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 then this, 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 then this, and so on. If I'm a product manager, I can have the entire product development divided into releases. Release 1 is, for example, the first row. Release 2 is the second row and a half, and so on and so on. Requirements mapping is another technique that brings the connection between the vision and what we have on operational level with our engineers. That's how the workshop looks like, by the way, that's me. 10 kilograms earlier, and Anna Zarudzka in Chile Corporation, and that's a huge table and about 10 people sitting over here from the customer and our engineering team. And the idea was actually to have that all mapped. These are posted sticky notes. That took 8 hours, I think, with a lot of stress and pressure. And eventually, especially, it's a good technique if you are having it with your customer. When the customer says it's so big and they have so little budget, and they see it, they can touch it actually, literally, it's a wall, they are starting to make very nice decisions like, okay, actually, let's keep that completely. Or let's don't do this and this and this. Or maybe let's have the first release just this part. And that's how we making the connection between engineering and the management by the very way. All right, my time is to be over, so a little summary, what I wanted to tell you, so the key takeaways. First of all, the vision is important. I'm coming from Agile software development, but I believe that if you're doing any other type of process and type of development, the vision is really important. Coming back to my first job at Siemens in pure waterfall, even when you receive 500 pages functional specification, everybody would like to see 1 or 2 pages of a general big picture. What are we talking about, what for, and how? The vision is a key activity. Then measure the impact. What's the impact of each part of the vision on your business? Once you have it, we can go into the list of requirements, and the mapping techniques are the best to do that. Thank you very much. I would like to encourage you to find me somewhere during the lunch break or later, and let's do the techniques, because speaking about them or even showing the examples is never as cool as having them played really. If you would like to contact with me after the conference, that's my email address. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
So, from your experience, who's the best person to have the product owner role? What's the best combination?
The one that has decision power. Many times I've seen a person that has vision, or a person that has budget, or even a person that has everything but has no decision power. That's the aspect that actually I didn't touch in here. If you have everything but you cannot make decision, or you have to check, that's wrong. Pure Agile by the book approach would be it's your customer, or even better, the user of the future product. But that's rarely met. I would say a person that can make decisions. Yeah.
That person usually doesn't have time for day-to-day decision making on a product.
That's true.
How do you handle that usually?
It's a complex question. There are some techniques. Worst one, like product owner proxy, so a person that is a proxy for the product owner with a limited decision power. The other one, especially if we're talking about big products, is scaling in terms, for instance, Scrum framework, how to scale it effectively. Sometimes it's a different organization of the work. Who writes requirements, at least in Agile software development? Well, in general, I mean not in the room. Well, in general, I hear that it's the product owner, while this is wrong. Product owner is not the person who writes requirements. He may write requirements, he may not. It's a collaborative work of the team, development team, and product owner. And if I have the situation that the product owner is too busy, very often in US corporations, I've seen that the product owner is the guy from marketing, and actually he's either in a plane or at the office of his customer. And that's it. So he's going from the vision to level 1, 2, 3 bottom requirements. He's going to handle just the top part. All the rest is done by the team. Sometimes I see that the product owner writes even very good requirements like use case and user stories, and the team does specify it with him. So it's a matter where you put this when you cut it down. Default consultant answer in Agile is ask the team. So if you have the product owner, the team, let them work it out. I cannot give you a good answer in general, but I know best practices in Agile. There are just good practices that work in a particular context.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Everybody's hungry. Thank you very much again, and see you later. Thank you.